All right, so you've made it to the US on an O-1 visa. You're working, you've got your social security number, everything seems set. But when tax time rolls around, there's this one little detail about your family on O-3 visas that could completely derail your entire tax return. And today, we're going to break down that single mistake that gets so many returns rejected. Okay, so let's jump right into it. We're going to start with a super common, but potentially really costly mistake that a lot of O-1 families make when they file their first U.S. tax return. You know, it's an easy trap to fall into, but trust me, the consequences can be pretty significant. So here's the situation, right? You, as the O-1 visa holder, you got your social security number. That's your golden ticket for working and filing taxes. But what about your spouse and your kids who are here with you? They're on O-3 visas, they're not earning any income. So do they even need anything for tax purposes? It's a great question. And right there, that's the heart of the problem. So many people just assume, hey, my dependents don't earn any income, so they don't need a taxpayer ID. And you know what? It sounds perfectly logical, doesn't it? But that assumption, it's completely wrong. And believe me, it leads to some major headaches with the IRS. Okay, look at this. This really lays out the two paths you can take. It's a tale of two tax filings, really. On one side, you've got the mistake, filing without IDs for your family. And what happens? Your return gets rejected, you lose out on valuable tax credits, and you're stuck waiting for months. On the other side, you do it the right way, your return is accepted, you get all the credits you deserve, and the whole process is just smooth. The choice here seems pretty obvious, right? So how do we make sure we stay on that smooth process path? Well, to avoid all those problems, we've got to understand the tools we're working with. And that brings us to two really important but very different types of IDs from the government, the SSN and the ITIN. Let's start with the one you probably already know, the Social Security Number, or SSN. As the O-1 visa holder, this is your number. Think of it as your official taxpayer ID. It's tied directly to your permission to work, and it's what you use for everything. Wages, payroll, filing your taxes. Pretty straightforward. Okay, but then we have the ITIN, the Individual Taxpayer Identification Number. Now, this is the key piece of the puzzle we've been talking about. An ITIN is made for a very specific group of people, those who need to be on a U.S. tax return but can't get a Social Security number. And who does that sound like? Yep, it's a perfect fit for non-working spouses and kids on O-3 visas. So why is this ITIN thing so essential? I mean, really, what's the big deal? Well, here it is. Without them, you literally cannot include your family on your tax return. Period. That means you can't file jointly with your spouse. You can't claim your kids as dependents. And you'll miss out on all those family-related tax credits, like the child tax credit. It all comes down to a simple rule. The IRS needs a number for every single person listed on a tax return. When you put them side by side like this, the difference is just crystal clear. The SSN, that's for the O-1 worker, for your job, your wages, and filing your part of the taxes. The ITN, that's for your O-3 dependents, and its main job is just to get them on the tax return so you can claim those credits. Even how you apply is totally different. They really are two separate systems built for two very different jobs. All right, enough with the definitions and the theory. That's all good, but let's see how this actually plays out in the real world. We're going to tell a little story here, a tale of two different O-1 professionals, to see exactly what happens when you get this right and when you get it wrong. So let's meet our two tax filers. We've got Sarah, she's a fantastic photographer, and we have David, a brilliant designer. Now they have a lot in common. Both are in the US on O-1 visas, both have families with them, and both are about to file their very first US tax return. But this is where their stories go in two very different directions. Okay, let's follow Sarah first. So tax season hits, and Sarah makes that classic logical-sounding assumption. My family doesn't work, so of course they don't need a number. She goes ahead and files her return with just her own SSN. A few weeks go by, and then boom, rejection letter from the IRS. See, they had no way to verify her dependents, which meant she couldn't file jointly, she couldn't claim her kids, she lost out on all those credits, and her refund was just stuck in bureaucratic limbo for months. A total nightmare. Now, let's switch over to David. He took a totally different approach. He was on top of it. He got his SSN right after he arrived, of course, but then, and this is the game changer, before tax season even started, he applied for ITNs for his wife and his kids. So when it was time to file, he had all the IDs he needed, he filed his joint return, everything was in order, and guess what? It was accepted immediately. No hitches, no delays. He claimed all his family credits and had a completely stress-free tax season.
So obviously, you want to be a David, not a Sarah in this situation. How do you do that? How do you avoid that huge mistake? Well, it all boils down to a super simple 3-step plan. This is your action plan for filing with total confidence.
Here we go, your path to a smooth tax season. Step 1, for you, the O-1 holder, get that SSN as soon as you possibly can. Step 2, for your O-3 dependents, apply for their ITINs before you file your first tax return. Seriously, don't wait until the last minute on this one. And step 3, this is a little look ahead. If your spouse later gets work authorization and their own SSN, you've got to remember to let the IRS know so they can update their records. Simple as that.
Look, if you forget everything else we've talked about, just remember this one thing. This is the crucial point. The O-1 worker needs an SSN, and any O-3 dependent that you list on that tax return needs an ITN. It really is that simple. An SSN for the worker, an ITN for the non-working dependents. That's the whole game.
And so that really just brings us to the final question you need to ask yourself, especially with tax season on the horizon. Now that you've seen the huge difference between a smooth filing and a rejected one, you know exactly what it takes. So let me ask you, is your tax return prepared for success?